Arjun, SlumG online, a half-finished cup of chai cooling beside the battered laptop, the city's neon heartbeat seeping through the cracked window, pressed "Go live" and let routine settle over him, like an old comforter. The blue LED glow smudged shadows across his hands as he scrolled through the quiet waiting chat, familiar as the distant rickshaw horns and whirring ceiling fan. Most nights, it felt like he was streaming into a void, the faint pulse of SlumBot and the rare high all that tethered him to anyone beyond his walls. Yet somewhere, in that gentle digital emptiness, lingered the ache, half hope, half habit, that maybe tonight would be different, that someone or something would reach through the screen and see him. That longing hummed under his skin, persistent as the city's late-night drone, shaping each keystroke, each glance at the blinking chat. The accidental screenshot flickered onto the stream, a wash of smoky grays and soft gradients, so unlike the Mumbai skyline he'd wanted to share. Arjun's breath caught. For a moment, it was as if the camera hadn't just missed focus, but had accidentally captured something that wasn't meant to be seen. His pulse ticked up, equal parts embarrassment and unease. What would chat make of this nothingness? Yet in that hazy void, he felt the room shift, air thinning, the city's distant chorus suddenly muffled behind the laptop's hum. The silence pressed in, heavy with the suspicion that something or someone was watching from the other side of the blur, reaching out just as he'd always ached for, yet carrying a charge of uncanny anticipation that made his skin prickle. And then, cutting through the static hush, 70249 Marn's "Hey" appeared. Simple, lowercase. Yet it split the gloom like a hand pressed to frosted glass. Arjun's heart jolted, not just from being noticed, but from the uncanny precision of the timing, as if the message had been waiting for his slip, lurking on the threshold of the blur. He stared at the word, pulse quickening, that odd sense of déjà vu prickling along his arms. This wasn't just the comfort of another night owl, but the feeling of a voice echoing from somewhere he'd half forgotten. A digital stranger who felt strangely familiar, as if they'd spoken before, unseen. For a moment, the city seemed to fade, the room narrowing to the blue-lit screen, and the possibility that someone out there saw him more clearly than the camera ever could. It was just one word, but it shimmered with hidden intent, a thrill that left him wondering whose presence he had really invited into the quiet of his midnight ritual. The follow-up message from 70249 Marn arrived, oddly well-timed. Like a reply to a question Arjun hadn't realized he'd asked. "I'm enjoying your stream, BTW," they wrote, the words lingering with a warmth that shouldn't have reached him through a screen, yet somehow did. The invitation came next, that Discord link shining bright as a sigil in the gloom, promising not just viewers but entry to something deeper, a community behind the veil of night. For a second, Arjun's sense of solitude wavered, replaced by an electric awareness, as if this stranger had always been watching, knew just when he'd falter, just when to draw him closer. The blurry gradient still glowed on his monitor, and beneath its featureless wash, he felt the prickle of being seen, of a connection, waiting just out of sight, a door barely ajar, inviting him to step through. He hesitated, cursor blinking, heart skipping, when the overlay stuttered with a ghostly flicker. Distance tracking, steps ticking up on their own, numbers that weren't his. For a split second, he thought he felt the weight of someone else in the room, or maybe behind the screen, a shared breath that sent goosebumps across his arms. The city's hush deepened to a roar in his ears, and the blue glow melted into shadow, just as the stream snapped off. Everything vanishing mid-sentence, mid-thought. Arjun stared at the reflection of himself in the dead screen, pulse wild, yearning for the connection that had almost broken through. Even in the sudden dark, he felt the invisible thread